Hey everyone, my name is Matt. I'm a computer gaming addict, and I just want to say that I'm really grateful and privileged to be here, and thank you all here for being here, for your support. My experience of uh, my previous experience is what uniquely qualifies me to be a computer gaming addict, and on the topic of gratitude, I never understood, I could never comprehend the word gratitude. I did not have gratitude when I was in active addiction. I I wanted things, I wanted instant gratification, and I wanted things when I wanted it, how I wanted it, and whatever I wanted. And um, yeah, was I felt alone most of the time, even when I got the things I wanted. It didn't really matter in the end because I was still alone, and so I had a hard time with gaming addiction, and I got through high school. I didn't graduate, but because I spent so much time playing games instead of going to school. And yeah, I struggled even afterwards. I couldn't get a job. And it wasn't until, you know, I started getting very desperate, and it started becoming like, life or death for me. And I I obviously wanted to live more than I wanted to die because I found CGAA. And when I found CGAA, I actually got a sponsor the first time when I found CGAA, and I talked to my sponsor for about 5 minutes, and that was it. I didn't come back for another 2 years, over 2 years, and I continued to game, and it was ironic because I went back into my game trying to be a hero and telling everyone that they were gaming addicts and they need this great program I found, but I never used it, and I continued to experiment. I apparently I was not ready back then. I still had more researching to do on my own, and I tried to moderate. I tried to, I tried to get into exercising, better diet, eating. I started trying to meditate. I was listening to all kinds of self-help tapes and motivational speakers, and I was trying to do it alone, and I couldn't do it on my own, is what I realized in the end. I I kept falling. I could never stay consistent, and I had no one to share with. Um, and so I hit another rock bottom, and I was getting older, and I felt like I was just wasting my time, wasting my life away, gaming my life away, and I compared myself to others. And in a way, it kind of saved me because I started to realize, I'm working in this dead end job as a laborer in construction and playing games every single day. And my peers, who I went to high school with, are, you know, they're already graduated with their master's degrees, and they're married, they're having kids. And look, and what am I doing? And that really, motivated me to look at myself. And it was actually coming to my 26th birthday, and I was not happy with my job, and I was pulling all nighters, and I was very sick. And what was killing me the most was that I could get a little bit of clean time, and then I would fall. And I remember how good I would feel, and then I would fall, and I I struggled to get back up on my feet every time, and it wasn't until I came here when my life really changed, and this fellowship has been a miracle for me. It actually, changed my entire life. It turned around it feels like I've done like a complete 180 and started going in a different direction. And yeah, I'm so grateful for that. My first meeting here, I was afraid to speak. My voice was very shaky, and I would wait for people to leave until the very end of the meeting, and then I would start typing, and then eventually my sponsor, who is now my sponsor, eventually got me to start talking, and I I was just full of shame and full of guilt and remorse, and I didn't I didn't know this was my last resort. I had nothing else to lose, and I was just done, and I was tired, sick and tired of being sick and tired, and um, yeah, it wasn't until I started to realize that I was able to listen this time. I could actually open my ears and pay attention to what people were saying and relate to them. And for the first time, I didn't feel alone because I could identify people were telling my story. And this was, I was met with compassion and support, and people really, it felt like they loved me, and this has helped me to love myself in the long run, because every time everyone's just so welcoming, and and there wasn't any judgment, and this was very liberating to me, and I started to share more and vent about what was going on, and it wasn't until then I got a you know I was meeting people in the fellowship actually in person, that lived in my area, and my sponsor, actually my CGAA sponsor, was recommending that I should be going to AA meetings, because before I got here I was 8 months dry of drinking and of drug use as well, and I didn't know really about 12-step fellowships, and I was definitely afraid to go to an in-person meeting. And I actually met my AA sponsor here, who took me to my first AA meeting, and that was a blessing, because I started to feel comfortable sharing in face-to-face settings, and yeah, I'm really grateful for that. And I was at this point, I was willing to do whatever it took to recover, to get my life, to actually have a life, because before I never really started anything for myself. I never really built anything. I never had any kind of identity, and my sponsor suggested that I move out of my house, that I was in a very much codependent relationship with my mom, and it was just a toxic environment, and I moved into a clean and sober house, and I was trying to use the serenity prayer to have the courage to change the things I can, and I started making major changes, and thanks. And so yeah, when I started making changes, my life started getting better. I was just doing what my sponsor was telling me to do, and I didn't do everything. I did small amounts of step work, and that was actually really helpful. It helped me to realize that there is something bigger than me that is helping me stay off games right now, because without everyone here, I would still be playing games. And then, this was great because I started to talk about, the problems I was having at work and how much of a toxic environment it was. People were bullying me, and I remember getting off of work and calling people up crying, and it was okay. I was met with compassion and support, and people were, getting angry for me, and telling me that this is not okay and that I need to live life on life's terms. And I was starting to learn to set boundaries, and this was this was the best thing ever, because once they started disrespecting my boundaries, I felt like I was developing a self-esteem, so it didn't feel good, and eventually I quit my job, and it was the most freeing feeling ever, and yeah, I after I quit my job, I bought a one-way ticket to Australia, and I decided to go traveling for 12 months, to just kind of find myself. And I'm really grateful for the support of the fellowship, because without that, I would not have been able to have this experience. And I I had the best experiences of my life. It completely changed me. It was the most therapeutic thing I could have ever done for myself, and I continued to stay connected with people in the fellowship, and I actually, got to meet people in Australia. Um, and I struggled a lot too, because I was on my own, and I knew no one. And there was a time difference now, and it was kind of hard to communicate. And I had to learn to get past a lot of obstacles and be very resourceful. And and I started going to AA meetings, and people were inviting me to their homes, and I got to do a bunch of great things with people. Um, and I bought a car, and I built it into a camper van, and I lived in it for about 6 months in total, and I was also volunteering, you know and I was still alone though, and it kind of, I was still starting to do my step work. I actually did my fifth step with my sponsor, while I was at the end of my Australia road trip, and then I went to Indonesia and Thailand, where I met my girlfriend actually a week before I was coming back home, and one thing that struck me as odd is, my girlfriend is this successful woman who has her master's degree and has her own travel blogging business for 8 years now, and she saw something in me that overshadowed, my lack of credentials, and and what she saw was the program working in my life and the principles that I go by, and and this was something that I never thought, you know, would ever happen. And so yeah, I got back home, and I decided to get over the fear of going back to school, and I got back into school, and I'm going for my AA degree now. I've been in school for about a year, and I'm not escaping anymore. I'm actually getting A's in my classes, and this this is why I continue to come back to this fellowship, because it's given me a life that I never would have dreamed of before, and never would have comprehended in my addiction. I was so hopeless, and now I'm full of hope and ambition, and and I I am internally grateful for the support of this fellowship. I continue to struggle today, but I don't have to struggle alone. And because this is a new life to me, and I have new problems that come up every day. Every day I struggle, and this is the beauty of the fellowship, because I can get, support. I don't have to reinvent the wheel. I can learn from other people's experiences, and get through it and grow, and then share my experience with others and help others. And so yeah, it's just this symbiotic relationship with the fellowship. And thanks for letting me share.